All right, let's change gears just a bit as we move over to the Orange County Register building where political reporter Norberto Santana is patiently standing by. How you doing, Norberto?
Ed, Ann, thanks for having me. Good.
Yeah, we're glad to have you back. All right, let's start first of all with Tan Nguyen. I think most folks who are familiar with his name remember that he won national headlines back in 2006 for running against Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez. He's now been indicted by a federal grand jury in Santa Ana. Give us some background on that.
Fascinating story. Broke late this afternoon. We have been running around getting in touch with people. It looks like federal officials indicted him for essentially misleading federal officers investigating the case. You guys will remember that back in 2006, he sent a mailer out, or his campaign sent a mailer out that warned immigrants against voting. He always said that his intent in sending out the letter was to tell people that were illegal immigrants that they couldn't vote. However, Tan's story also changed several times. At first, it was a campaign overzealous volunteer that had sent it out. Then that person was fired. That person was brought back later on. Then there was this explanation that it was just a bad Spanish translation. And my sense is that probably in changing those stories a couple of different times to federal officials, he may have made a serious mistake. He's scheduled to be arraigned in federal court on October 14th. And that is a felony, and it does carry both fines, prison, and if he was to be found guilty, it would preclude him from ever running for office again.
Okay, indictment by the grand jury, however, means that they have been investigating him and this situation and have found enough evidence to bring it before the court. Is that correct?
That's a perfect explanation. I mean, obviously, an indictment is nothing more than an allegation, but it is certainly the result of grand jury proceedings. It does come after several years. You will also remember that the California Attorney General investigated Tan, and they didn't find enough evidence to file an action against him under the term of voter intimidation. The fascinating thing about Tan's case is that it's also spurred legislation both at the state and federal level having to do with stiffening penalties for campaigns that get a little overzealous and try to intimidate different blocks of voters.
Any response from Congresswoman Sanchez's office?
Not yet. Obviously, they're a bit involved in the bailout issue today. I did talk with Jose Solorio, a state assembly member who actually was a person that did get that letter. He does reside in that 47th congressional district. He was very happy to see the feds do something. I think a lot of times in these campaigns, people get frustrated because they see a lot of fast and quick moves made, and institutions like the State's Fair Political Practices Commission and others oftentimes take several years to actually do anything, and it doesn't send a very good message in terms of discipline.
Okay, and this case, of course, is changing day to day, and folks can read more about it on the Orange County Register website where you have a blog, and folks can get more information there. Let's move on, though. Sheriff Sandra Hutchins will issue a report on her first 120 days in office. Now, the report up until now has been totally hush-hush. Why the secrecy?
That's an interesting question. I think that I think in some ways the Sheriff Hutchins is almost going out of her way to sort of be the anti-Mike Corona. During Corona's age, something like this would have had a lot of pomp and circumstance, a lot of advance work. Issue after issue with her, it seems very sort of straightforward, very bureaucratic. I was able to get one tidbit from someone inside the department today that apparently casual Fridays are no longer in force.
Thing of the past. Oh, wow, okay.
How close are the politicians, I'm talking about the County Board of Supervisors, how much are they going to be paying to this 120 days?
I think everybody is very keen on what she's going to propose. I think up until now she's had a bit of a honeymoon because she did establish this 120-day deadline. So I think a lot of people are very keen. I know that a lot of supervisors are not particularly happy with some of the revisions that she announced to concealed weapon permits in Orange County, which we had one of the most liberal policies across the state, and she certainly has enacted a series of policies that's going to tighten that up. And in a place like Orange County, a lot of those supervisors, people like John Morlock, who said he picked her because of her stance on concealed weapons permits, those people get a lot of phone calls from a lot of very angry people.
Now, in a report such as this, Norberto, is she going through the last 120 days and sort of telling what she's done, or is this a look forward as well as a look back?
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's both in a sense. It is supposedly her plan for going forward. And obviously, as they always say, past is prologue. So in order to know where to go forward, you have to sort of get underneath the hood, and that was always the argument that she sort of told everybody. I don't want to get out in front of what we actually find. I know that investigators, or I shouldn't say investigators, auditors working on behalf of Sheriff Hutchins have been talking to people all over the department. There have been a lot of sort of staff changes already. I even kind of wonder if some of this may be a land with a thud, because a lot of these changes may have already taken place in terms of commanders at jails being moved around. A lot of senior people associated with the Corona regime have already retired. So I'm very curious, along with others, to see what comes out of that.
Sure.
In the last about 30 seconds here, how is this current financial situation affecting John Wayne Airport?
Last week, or 2 weeks ago, they were going to move forward with a bond financing plan to expand the airport, and they quickly found out that Lehman Brothers was one of their underwriters, which obviously Lehman Brothers no longer exists.
Yeah.
We are getting indications that a lot of different, this credit crunch that everybody's talking about is beginning to impact local governments across the country, because many of these governments do rely on short-term borrowing to finance operations. So it's going to be very interesting on next Tuesday to see how that plan moves forward, and if it still can.
All right, very good, Norberto. Thanks again for joining us. And of course, folks, as I said earlier, you can check out the blog on OCRegister.com, where up-to-the-minute information is. Thanks again, Norberto.
Thanks, guys.
Roberto.
Bye.